Askreddit asks, hotel staff of Reddit, how often do you catch people nude in the halls and what's your best story? NSFW.
I generally see at least one naked person a month. To be fair, my hotel is in the nightclub area, so everyone is usually fairly intoxicated. I've had my elevator turn into a softcore porn studio on multiple occasions. But the one time that always stands above the rest is one time this guy was going down on this young lady. The elevator was still on the ground floor and someone entered the lobby. After greeting the guest, I ran out the back to watch the security camera. This young lady walked in on the other two. He pulls his head out from under the girl's skirt, wipes his face and smiles. I'm rolling on the floor laughing my ass off. Other enjoyable one was this guy come to reception because he locked himself out of his room. He was completely naked. Normally people try to get my attention in some subtle way. The guy just walks down 4 flights of stairs, walks to the desk and casually says, "I left my key in my room." I hand him a new key and he goes to walk back up the stairs. Sees a few girls looking at him from outside, gives them a wave and a pose, then proceeds back to his room. The level of "I don't give a fuck" this guy had still impresses me.
Had one dude full on nude walking about, but that was boring. Best was a guy who called down, said he was locked out of his room after sleepwalking. Go up. HES just in boxes. I let him in, then come down to check the cameras. Dude was straight wandering the halls, penis in hand, slowly stroking it whilst he knocked on doors, then comes back down the hallway. Pees into a bin in front of the elevators and then calls down. You can even see the moment he wakes up he looks confused and lost. Was a good laugh. He got charged hazardous waste cleanup fee.
Doing this while sleepwalking is my worst nightmare.
I thought he was using the sleepwalking as an excuse for him being nude in the hallway, but damn. I used to work at Great Wolf Lodge. I'd catch people having sex in the hot tubs quite often. It was always awkward having to go tell them to stop at it. Again, not Wisconsin Dells location, this was Virginia. But I'm sure this happens at all of them. You have nothing to worry about. They keep up with the water quality very well, at least when I was there. No. You cannot get pregnant from swimming in a pool with jizz.
Last week I had to shoo an amorous couple out from behind the dumpster. Our hotel has the worst smelling dumpster I've ever had the displeasure of experiencing. The thought of anything sexual going on back there is enough to make me gag.
Maybe that's why they like it? The smell of rotting garbage is enough to cover the scent of your disgusting genitals.
You sure it wasn't Frank and Artemis?
This was about 5 to 6 years ago. But I'll probably never forget it. A couple was fucking all morning in a room I was supposed to clean later on. You could hear them on the entire floor. After lunch, I see them leaving, both in business suits, both very classy, late 30s, both very attractive. I opened the door and the room was trashed as if a rock star from the 70s stayed there. Crushed crisps, spilled booze, the sofa, the bed, the bathroom was such a mess. Those usual 20 minutes they give you for cleaning would never be enough even for 3 people. They left a £40 tip on the table and a note saying, "Sorry."
Was £40 worth the clean? Been working 3 years as a night manager and it honestly only happened once. Knocked on a room where I suspected that a guest was smoking on the room. He opened the door completely nude and casual.
Should have embarked on a steamy affair which ends up with you going undercover with an arms dealer for MI6. ETA. This is by far and away my most popular post after 5 years. And I owe it all to wanting to see Loki's ass.
Finally one I can answer. I caught someone once. Well, I didn't have to catch them. They came to me. I worked night audit at a local hotel. One night morning around 5 a.m. I was at the desk when the elevator started moving. At the time we didn't have cameras, so I didn't know what to expect. When it stopped in the lobby, the doors opened and I see a man with a card looking slightly shocked. Then from the blind spot from where I was standing out stepped a man with a cigarette in hand and nothing but a small towel around his waist. He looked pissed. He stormed up to the desk and demanded a new room key, all while yelling about how he got lost in the confusing as fuck rooms. I confirmed his room best I could given the situation and sent him on his way. The poor man that was in the elevator with him looked like he saw more than I did and didn't want to talk about it. An hour later the man came down to the lobby to check out and demanded a full refund for embarrassing him and for not clearly labeling the balcony door and the hallway door. I laughed and told him to call my manager, which he did later that day. Kicker is the room he was in had two doors. A bathroom door on one side of the room, and on the completely other side with a fire map, chain lock and deadbolt the room door. There was no balcony attached to his room.
One time housekeeping brought the front desk a bag of sex toys that were left behind. After 5 seconds of checking the system, I find that the guests are here for 2 more nights. Housekeeping ran back to put the bag where they found it before the guests came back.
Doesn't housekeeping have a list of which rooms need to be vacated and which don't? Were they just going by does it look moved out?
Hope he left a tag in the bag. Hotel XY checked like the TSA does.
Not my story, but my brother manages a nice hotel that happens to be near a red light district. One day, he gets this tourist who books a double room for a month. Ideally as far away from the main entrance as possible. Guest checks in, and starting on the 3rd day, there's this conga line of prostitutes coming in and out of the guy's room. By my brother's own count, the guy's personal record is 16 different women in a day. That's not the crazy part. One day, guest comes to front desk with a woman on each arm and asks my brother if he could book an Uber. Brother obliges and books the guest an Uber. Guest then tips with a prostitute. As in, full-on offers the girl up to him and says, "You wanna have a go?" I sincerely hope nobody ever takes a black light to that room. Edit. To answer the important question. No, he did not partake. He was on shift and working front desk at the time. Edit 2. To answer the other question. In a lot of poorer countries, cash is still king. A lot of tourists don't want to mess around with tourist SIMs in the local cellular networks. So they ask the front desk at hotels to call an Uber for them. The Uber gets to the hotel, and the guest pays the driver in cash. And yes, taxis are a lot easier. But in this specific country, taxis are also infamous for running scams, refusing to take passengers, or marking up their fares with bullshit invisible charges.
I used to work security at a large casino resort and we got a call at around 3 a.m. one night about a naked and frantic woman running down the halls of one of our hotel towers. So we go up there and sure enough find a woman bawling her eyes out completely nude. We got her a towel from the linen closet so she at least had something to cover up, and then she calmed down to tell us she had met a guy on the casino floor and went up to his room and he attempted to rape her and got all her clothes off and scratched her up pretty good, but she fought like hell and got out of the room. Needless to say, the cops came and the guy was dragged out and justice was served. Oh, he had a black eye when we got him out of the room too. She whooped his ass.
Holy shit, I'm glad she managed to escape. Creepy shit.
Well, this one wasn't funny at all.
I once worked in a hotel where the staff accommodation was a small house outside the back of the hotel, surrounded by 4 guest accommodation cottages. My friend and colleague had gone down to the hotel in the morning to make him and his partner breakfast. On the way back, carrying a mug of coffee in each hand and a plate of toast balanced on each mug, he passed a family of newly arrived guests unloading their car into their cottage. The cord tying his bathrobe came loose and his gown came open, exposing all. With both hands full, he had no choice but nod, smile and say "morning" in the most cheery voice he could muster and walk on. Not sure what the parents made of this. I do feel sorry for the children though. Edit. Spelling.
Had 2 young, mid-20s ladies come to the front desk at about 2:30 a.m. wrapped in towels asking if they could take a swim. I told them the pool closed at 10 p.m. They dropped their towels and said, "How about now?" My reply: "Very nice. But you still can't use the pool." I still have the footage on VHS somewhere. Closing parenthesis dot.
No, you'll want the towels.
VHS or it didn't happen. I used to work as overnight auditor for a hotel. One day while I was doing rounds at 3 a.m., I thought I saw something moving at the opposite end of the hallway and I was like, did I just see a naked man? This poor guy was sleepwalking butt naked while hugging himself. Our hallways are freezing cold. I approached him closer and said, hello sir. He turned his head and said hey. I was like, is he still asleep? 5 seconds later, I guess he realized what was going on. He said, I'm so sorry. I gave him a robe from a nearby housekeeping closet, took him to the lobby to verify his identity. Obviously he doesn't have ID on him. I gave him a room key and followed him back to his room to make sure he doesn't sleep on his way back or whatever. Edit. I can't stop laughing. Thank you all. I am glad that I didn't send this story to my manager. Whether he reads it as if I rubbed a naked man in the hallway, pulled off a stick up on a guy with his stick hanging out, or even worse as if I hid Mr. Rob in the closet so I could introduce him to a sleepwalker, I would have been fired.
A guy somehow managed to lock himself out of his room naked and had to come to the front desk to get another key. The front desk is separated from the room since there are 5 buildings each with a certain number of rooms, and he was in the one furthest from the desk, so he had to walk naked across the property. The saving grace was that it was around midnight, so no one was around. Also, I was sitting down and the counter goes to around chest high, so I just thought he round 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 chest.
This is my fucking nightmare. Being that dude.
It happens surprisingly often, to be honest. It snows here and during one winter another one did the same, but at least he had some shorts on. He had to do the cold walk of shame in snow back to his room.
Not a worker but saw a dude walking this hot chick like a dog with a leash in a hotel once.
Master slave, pet, exhibitionist. Very thrilling.
I was working morning shift one day and it was almost 3, so I'm getting ready to leave. The business center was right in front of the front desk. Across the lobby, I'm counting money and I look up to see Big Booty Judy getting pounded out on one of the computers and a guest with his junk out. Going to town. I was in shock. Right then my coworker walks in and sees him too. She said, sir, this is a family hotel. Get to your room, now. Quote, if you're reading this, thanks for handling that.
Sir, go to your room. Priceless.
Not a worker but one time we had a bachelor party and rented a hotel for about 10 of us. One of our buddies got shit-faced before it even got dark and we took him back to the hotel because he wasn't about to get in anywhere and kept complaining about being ready to go back. We dropped him off and proceeded to go on with our night. An hour or 2 later the hotel called one of our buddies whose name was on the room and told us we needed to get back because our buddy was laying in the hall outside our room naked. I'm not sure what happened, but he lost the room key and for whatever reason decided to get naked so he could go to sleep. The room key was in his pocket.
I hope this doesn't get lost. I know I'm late. My uncle was the general manager of a resort up in Pennsylvania and he told me a story about how a little people convention came and had an event at the resort. The next day the honeymoon suite was vacant, again, so they rent it out to this newlywed couple. They weren't in the room but 10 or 15 minutes before screaming was heard. Turns out the night before there were 3 midgets staying in that room and they all got pretty trashed. So trashed that one of them got naked and the other 2 threw him up onto wardrobe cabinet. He didn't wake up to the cleaning lady and so they thought the room was empty. The married couple screamed because they saw a pair of eyes peek up above the wardrobe as they were consummating the marriage. It's not every day you go on your honeymoon to find a naked midget above your wardrobe. Holy crap guys, I didn't expect this to blow up. Thanks for the love. I'll have no idea how long I've waited to tell this story. Guess you gotta wait for the right questions to be asked, lol.
This one wins.
Here's a story. Keep in mind I was 17-year-old girl while working at this hotel. I've never seen a naked person in the hallway. But once in the lobby, a man at around 300 m sat down on a chair and called his girlfriend. I was on the night shift and I was sitting down behind a computer screen, so he would have only seen the top of my head if he looked over. But it was Sunday morning and he was extremely drunk from a wedding. He was wearing a suit and I was just keeping my eye on him. He then started having raunchy phone sex with his girlfriend or wife. And it was so raunchy. My jaw dropped and I honestly didn't know what to do. Then a janitor came over and we were sitting there flabbergasted. He then pulled his dick out and started jerking off. So I got up, walked over and said, "Sir, you're in the lobby." He woke up out of his sexual drunker stupor and I'll never forget the look of horror that came across his face. He ran to his room so embarrassed.
Why did the janitor pull his dick out? Obligatory, first gold. Thank you, kind stranger.
Last night I was doing the night shift at the front desk. Usual boring night shift on my phone as usual. This dumbass appears out of nowhere covering his junk with one hand, holding his room card in the other. He screams at me for a good 5 minutes saying his card doesn't work and he got locked out and it's my fault. He had his phone in the same hand as the card. This dumbass didn't know that his phone demagnetized the card and that's why it's not working. I said something along the lines of, "Sir, you demagnetized the card with your phone." He apologized and I made him a new one. Happens once a month minimum edit. In working for a small hotel with low budget, we usually have the cheapest equipment. Hence the cards that demagnetize themselves.
Been working in hotels for about 5 years now and have a couple of goodies. One was like 17 or 18, fresh in the industry, working the minibar. So I have to check all rooms to see if they need anything. So I knock on this door like I do every day. Knock 3 times loudly and no answer. I go to walk in the room and I see a man but ass naked bumming another dude. Hard. Best thing about is they were so in the moment they didn't even notice me open the door, take a step in and hurry out again too. Was doing nights on reception. My duty manager asked me to go for floor check because he was busy. Not a problem. Happy to stretch my legs. I noticed the pool lights were still on and door was open. Afternoon shift manager was meant to lock it at 9 p.m, so I go in and I notice a naked lady sitting the edge of the spa pool with a man performing oral sex on her. I make myself known and they quickly jump back into the water. I suggested they continue in their room and pissed myself laughing as they left in the lift. I then told my manager and we both had a good laugh. That footage is now saved in the Golden Moments file of the security footage. So many more, but those are my 2 favorites.
Didn't happen to me in a hotel but rather a hostel on a class trip years ago. I used to be a sleepwalker and it was quite the problem back then, as we had all had drinks, yay underage drinking. Now, I shared a room with a girl from my class. We had a nice night out, rambled about stuff for a good half hour and then we passed out. I don't know why or how, but I woke up on her bed the next morning and apparently this is what happened. I stood up, walked to the bathroom, couldn't figure out how the door worked so I gave up and laid back down. Mumbled something, stood up again, tried one more time with the door, figured it out, went into the bathroom, stood there for about 10 minutes, came back, laid down, stood up again, tried to put my shirt on, went outside, came back in, shouted, "Honey, I am home," laid down in her bed and passed the fuck out. She was a real bro about it and didn't make a scene or anything. She, as far as I know, didn't tell anyone either.
I have sleepwalked occasionally, maybe 2-3 times that I know of. On one occasion I awoke standing in a hotel hallway wearing just my undertrunks. Had no idea which door I'd come out of. No idea where I was. The place was completely silent. I had no idea what to do. Took me a minute or so to realize I was even in a hotel. Terrifying. Thankfully, 1, I'd chosen to sleep in shorts that night and 2, my wife to be eventually woke up, looked out into the hall and found me. All these replies make me think I should start working in a hotel near a nightclub.
Do you really want to see someone with a huge cock muffler fuck a car?
Me too.
Or a woman letting out an explosive diarrhea into a man's mouth.
Not staff. But I stayed in a SureStay Plus, basically a Best Western branded motel, earlier this year when I flew to San Antonio to house hunt. I woke up in the middle of the night to the most god-awful shrieking ever.
Opened my door,
Looked down the hallway, and saw what I will politely call a half-naked, no pants or underwear on, plus-sized woman trying to squeeze out a shit onto the hallway carpet. Recoiled in horror and returned to the safety of my room. But the shrieking went on for what felt like an eternity. No less than 5 minutes of this Snorlax trying to push out a painful shit. Right there in the hallway. I will never understand what could compel someone to just shit in the hallway. But I really don't understand why someone would choose there, of all places, to meet their constipation head on. I asked the front desk if that was normal and they said yes.
I used to work in number 1, currently, American chain. Now I work in small city hotel. A nude prostitute running in the corridor screaming the guest was going to kill her. She screamed so loud she wake up entire building. The room is on the 3rd floor. I got calls from guest on 12th floor and I could hear it clearly from lobby. The guest was intoxicated and went on vacation with his friends. He opened this room on the 3rd floor just to nail sex worker. Cannot speak very good English and demand us to call the police. Now being third world denier Buddhist country, they outlawed all sex worker, but it is know that it's a common thing, so we cannot call the police or they will get into deeper shit trying to help. So in the end we had to wake up his friends and told them his shitty drunk prostitute situation in order to not escalated it. Turn out no one was killing her, but they failed to negotiate the price. Edit added some more detail.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to support the channel, and above all, have an excellent day, you incredible people.